Hi, this is Mrs. Zhu, and today we are working on homework number 6. So let's get started. The first question is asking us, actually we're going to start with number 2. We do need to write a proportion for every question, then we're going to solve. So that's what we learned today in class. Now, when we set up the proportion, let me just briefly show you. So let's just say that I have this bar, and if nothing is here, then it would represent 0%. If I filled up the entire bar, it would represent 100%. And let's just say I have a question where 12% of 30 is what? Okay, and I'm gonna fill out 12% of this bar. So maybe I'll fill out like that much. It's probably a little less, and that would be 12%. Of 30 is what? Now, in a percentage, we could look at the bar as a percentage. We could also look at the bar as numerical values. Here, of 30 means that either there are 30 that are 12% or 30 that's 100%. Now, the whole bar would represent all of the 30, okay, because it's of 30. Because usually we write in our fraction a number out of another number. So because it's out of 30, we would put some number over 30. So some number is going to be over 30. And because we're looking for what this is our is, and the 30 is the of, we're going to create a fraction. And that fraction is going to represent the is over of, which is basically the part out of the whole. And so we're taking this little part, 12%, some amount x out of 30, so x out of 30, and we're looking at it, comparing it with our fraction, which is going to give us 12 out of 100. And that fraction is equivalent to the percent that we have. And our percentage is 12%, which is represented as a number out of 100. So there's my two ratios. Now I'm going to make them equal. So this is my proportion. So I've set up my problem. Now I'm going to cross multiply and find my answer. So let's go back to the homework number 2. So in this question here, I have 98%. I'm going to put that over 100. Now the 98% is the percent that is represented by the current percent. Currently, there's 98% of the students that are being represented, which means that the 100% would be last year's percentage of the students. Okay, now that's going to help us with the second ratio. The second ratio that I want to write is not on percentage, but it's actually the number of students specifically for this question. And for this question, we want to compare current number in the numerator over last year's number of students. So currently there's 1,170 students, so then I'm going to write that in the numerator. That 1,170 students is currently represented by 98%. That's why those two numbers are both in the numerator in their respective ratios, okay? Which means that x would be the number of students that were there last year that I'm representing in the denominator. Then I'm going to set the proportions equal to each other, and then I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply those two numbers together. I'm going to get 117,000, and I'm going to cross multiply the other side, which equals to 98x. There's an x here. Okay, then I have an equation where I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to divide the 98 over here with the 117,000, and that's going to give me 1,193 point, I think it was like 85 or something. And so then I'm going to round that to the nearest whole. So the whole number is the ones place. I'm going to round to the ones. So that would be the number 3 right here. And then my answer would round to 1,190. The 3 will round up to a 4 because of the 8. So that's how many students were there last year at the school. Let's skip down to number 5. Now, number 5, I'm going to highlight the key things that I need. There's a 6% raise. Before the raise, she's making $52,000 per year. And the question I'm going to answer is how much more will she earn next year? Okay, so when she gets a raise, that's going to be her new salary for the new year. So let's set up the two ratios. So the first ratio is going to be the percent over 100. Okay, that should be very simple because 6%, I'm just going to write 6 over 100. The second ratio that I'm going to write, now the 6 represents the percent of her raise. So then I want to figure out what her raise is, and then the 100% is her current. Okay, so her raise would be represented by the next year, how much more she'll earn next year, and the current will be the year right now that she's getting money for. So we're going to look for how much money she has for a raise, and then her current amount of money would be in the denominator, since the 100% represents what she's currently getting. Okay, so then my second ratio, the raise that she's going to get, well, I don't know because I'm going to look for how much more she's going to get, so that's her raise. So that's my X. And then the current amount that she's making is the $52,000 in my denominator, and I'm going to make the proportions equal to each other. Okay, from here I'm going to cross multiply. So 52,000 times 6 is going to give me 312,000. 312,000. Then I'm going to cross multiply the other side, which equals 100x. So then I'm going to take the 100 and divide it with 312,000, and that's going to give me $3,120 is how much extra. It's almost like her little bonus, but it is her raise that she gets added to her current salary. And then let's try number 8. Number 8, highlight here 2 passes. He intercepts out of 7. So 2 out of 7, that's like getting 2 questions right out of 17 questions on a test. So think about those fractions that we see all the time when we take tests. We are looking for the percentage of Javier's passes that were intercepted. So we are looking for the percent. So percent is always out of 100, so that's X over 100. That's the percent. I know that there's 2 passes out of the 17. So 2 is the is, and the 17 is the of. Just like if I give a test back to you, on your test you would get a 2 out of 17 on your test, showing that you only got 2 questions right out of 17. Right, so that's the second ratio. Then I'm going to make them equal to each other, and then from here I'm going to solve 2 times 100 is 200. Cross multiply 17 with x, which is 17x. Bring your equal sign down. Then to find x, I'm going to bring the 17 and divide it with the 200, and that will give me x will equal to 0.68, which is the same percent as 68%. Oh my goodness, I am giving you the wrong answer. It's not 0.68. It is 0.118. Okay, and then we want to round to the nearest tenth. So that would give me, actually I still have another decimal after that, 0.117647. So if I were to round that, first I have to change this to a percentage. Okay, so that would require me moving the decimal over twice to the right. That would be 11.7647. I'm rounding to the tenths. Okay, the tenths, which number is in the tenths? Good, the 7, the number right after the decimal. So to round it, I want to get 11 point, and that 7 will either stay a 7 or round up to an 8. And because of the 6 on the right, it rounds up to an 8. So it's approximately 11.8%. That's what X is, which is the percent that Javier's passes were intercepted. It's pretty good. I mean, Definitely don't want that to be a high percentage of people intercepting your passes. Okay, let's try the back side. Now we're going back to writing an equation. The equations are something we learned the day before. So take out that math code. Okay, and the code really, there's really 3 simple things in the code. So let's review. The 3 simple things in the code is what. If I see the word what, or simply if I see the word what percent, or if I see the word what number, or I see find, then for the what, since I don't know what it is, I want to use a variable x. And then there's the word is. If I see the word is, I want to use a equal sign. Good. And if I see the word of, I want to use the multiplication, the parentheses. Okay? So you just need to know those 3 things. All right, let's go back to our worksheet. So, on number 1, so here we have their bill. That's their total bill. They're planning to tip the waiter 15%. How much money should they leave for the tip? Well, the equation is x is equal. Their tip is going to be, that's 15% of their bill. Here, of their bill. Right here. 15% of their bill. What's their bill? Their bill is $23.40. So 15% of $23.40. So that's going to be x is equal to 0.15 times, that's of, $23.40. $23.40. Then you will get your answer. Simply multiply. X is equal to $3.51. Okay? Let's try number 3. Number 3. I'm looking for 75% of the park have tennis courts. So 0.75 of, that's times, timesing the number of parks. Okay. Of the parks. Yeah, number of parks. Of the parks, they have tennis courts. They have tennis courts. Okay, those are the parks. That equals to the number of parks that have the tennis courts. Parks with tennis courts. Okay, so 0.75 times the number of parks is equal to the number of parks that actually have tennis courts, because 75% of them have tennis courts. So I know that 0.70. Do I know the number of parks that I have? Nope, because it says how many parks does Springville have altogether. So I don't know the number of parks. I'm going to use an X. And do I know how many parks have tennis courts? Yes, 15 parks have tennis courts. So that equals to 15. It's a little different than the first question, because this time, rather than finding a part of the whole, we need to go back to find the whole. What was the original amount of parks? What was the number of questions? If you got 15 questions right on the test, or there were 15 parks, and you got a 75% on the test, could you go back and figure out how many questions were on the test? That's how I would do it. So then x is going to equal to 15 divided by 0.75, and then x is equal to 20 parks. Let's try number 5. Number 5. In recent seasons, alright, we have the 99 out of 162 games. That should be pretty simple. And a question like this is really simple, because it's like saying, hey, I got a 99 out of 162 points on like a test, because that's what you guys do often in homework and things like that. So all we have to do is find the percent of that. So because it is out of means a fraction, I'm going to simply write a fraction. So x is going to equal a fraction. The fraction is going to be 99 over 162. If I can just change this fraction into a percent, then I'm good to go, and that's going to give me the answer to the percent. So I'm going to change it to a percent. If I wrote it as a proportion, then I would write 99 over 162 is equal to x over 100, and I would just have to find what x is so that I can find the percent. The same thing here, if I use my calculator and divided those two numbers,